All right. What's up, Mike? Welcome back. For those of you who are joining us to watch the video, welcome back to you as well. Today we are working on part 2 of our deep dive into the Entourage software. Mike is the developer, the inventor, the creator, the founder of Entourage, and we're gonna get into a little bit deeper for how the software works. For those of you who haven't seen the last video, I'll drop a link in the notes. And with part 1, we just really started on page 1 of the software, which was the command center. There's so much going on in the command center that it took us quite a while to get through all of it. We actually might not have gotten through it fully, but we got through it enough that you really will learn a lot just by watching it. Today, we're going to get into bulk files and some of the other operations, if I remember correctly, what we just spoke about 15 seconds ago. And Mike, I'll let you sort of take the wheel here. I'll let you say hello. I'll let you queue up the demo, and I'll let you show us what you've got to show us today.
Yeah, excited to be here, everyone. And Abe, thanks for having me back. I think the last time we was a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months ago at this point, and we went over the command center, which is a good introduction to the bulk engine, because the command center is where you go to like really organize your campaigns and everything, find out what you want to work on. The bulk engine is where you take the action. And then we'll also go over some of the reports that you can find inside of Entourage. So I'm very excited to be here. Abe and I just had a nice long conversation about pizza. So I'm definitely kind of hungry. Went on the great pizza tour of Connecticut, which I recommend everyone doing who's watching this.
Yes, my vote goes for Frank Pepe's, but apparently that's a controversial choice, but not for today.
Well, what's the second runner-up besides Pepe's? To me,
I think Sally's is number 2 for a lot of people, and modern pizza is in the conversation. But yeah, it's either Sally's or Frank Pepe's for everybody.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, the last time we went over the command center, which can be found down over here. Today, we'll go into the bulk engine. And I think I'll probably come back on again to talk about our automations some other time, because there's a lot that goes into the automations in our tool. The way that we describe Entourage is it's the perfect blend of automations and bulk operations. And today we're going to talk about the operations. Our tool is built for bigger sellers, but any type of seller can use it. It's also built for agencies in mind who want to get through campaigns efficiently and effectively and save a lot of time and money as they're doing that. With that being said, to get to the bulk engine, simply click on the bulk engine. Now, I just want to preface this by saying this is the first feature that we created inside of PPC Entourage. It was like the first napkin idea that I had back in 2017. And essentially, this is just finding the search terms that are working really well and turning them into other campaigns. And then as we started to build the bulk engine, more and more ideas came. And before you knew it, we had a whole bunch of tools loaded into like one section where you can go in there and slice and dice into your data and figure out what's going on. So who is the bulk engine for? It's for the seller who really wants to get into their data, but just like me, does not want to learn how to use spreadsheets. Now, I don't know if this is something I should be proud of, but to this day, I have not learned how to use spreadsheets because I've been developing the bulk engine. I don't know, Abe, if you...
I'm the same as you. I know how to read a spreadsheet, and I know how to ask my team what to do, like what I want them to do. But in terms of manipulating a spreadsheet, it's not at all my specialty either. Like, I'll go out of my way to tell my team, I don't know how to do this. You might be able to fool me for a little bit because I don't know how to check what you're doing. But the reality is I'm trusting everybody around me to be good at spreadsheets. But I definitely can appreciate you wanting to get away from that. Just out of curiosity, does the tool do exports into spreadsheet format for when we want that?
Yeah, you can download all the reports that you see here and export it into a spreadsheet.
Perfect. Because you and me might not like spreadsheets, but there are some people who do live in that world.
Right. Yeah. So you can see the data any which way you want and then do with it what you want in a spreadsheet. We try to cover all the bases on this bulk engine, but I'm sure there's things the spreadsheet can do that, maybe if you're advanced at it, you can manipulate the data any which way you would like. So this is the bulk engine. And the way that it's broken up is we have optimization, expansion, target search, and generated reports. So we just recently added the generated report section. And what this is going to do is it's going to house all the reports that you create inside of Entourage for 30 days. So if you wanted to reference back to it in any which way, all you have to do is click on either download and you can send that off to a spreadsheet. You can delete the report, or you can click on this blue box here and it'll actually go to the bulk engine report and you can take action from there. So what we do with the bulk engine is we help you choose campaigns that you want to work on. Now, a lot of sellers just select all campaigns, even if it's hundreds or thousands, they can, work it in bulk if they wish, or you can leverage some of these filters that we went over in the last video, Abe. I think we went over, the fact that there's portfolios here. You can organize by portfolios, choose one or more. There's a tagging system. And then you could even then, I'm not quite sure if this was on the last video, but we have this ability now to select campaigns that have certain attributes. So for example, if we wanted to optimize in bulk, all of the campaigns that have, let's say, a phrase match or a broad match or active placement modifiers or for fixed bidding, whatever you wanted to do, you can then find the campaigns with those attributes, pull them up here, further organize them by maybe campaign type or by portfolio or by tags, break it down any which way you want, and then go from there. And then if you wanted to find campaigns without certain attributes, we also have that as well. So maybe you want to organize and optimize all of the campaigns that have our automation turned, campaigns without the automation turned on, you can do that right over here.
And then am I correct? Am I correct to see that from the way that showed up, I can pick multiples?
Yes, so we can do, let's say, a combination of, let's get all of the exact match campaigns that have the smart part that don't have the campaign, the automation turned on.
Right. No, but what I'm asking for exact match, I can pick exact and Bray, like I can pick a couple of things.
Yeah, active placement modifiers. You can do fixed bidding.
Right.
Combination.
And then go from there.
Good. The reason why, so we built the tool so that people can make filters and save those filters and save those templates across multiple accounts. So if you're an agency watching this, you can actually save this. Let's say you have a bunch of campaigns that have exact match, active placement modifiers, and fixed bidding, and you just wanted to save that as a filter. You could do that, and then it'll pull up on all of the accounts that are connected. So an easier way to filter through your campaigns so you can take decisive action.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I imagine, a lot of agencies and a lot of one sort of quote unquote standard way of looking at match types is you'll consider broad and phrase to be similar because you're getting more than what your keyword is. So for searching, you might want to look at those campaigns differently than your exact match campaign, just as one possible scenario. So being able to show both of those as the result is definitely useful.
Yeah, maybe you want to find the campaigns that have broad match, but don't have phrase match. So you're active.
I would say broad match, but not exact match.
Yeah,
because exact is like hyper targeted,
and
broad is not. So you'll want things out of one, but not the other.
Right,
like a lot of times, one of the things which is frustrating to me is that when it comes to negating terms, a lot of software will negate terms even in an exact match campaign, even if it's the exact term that I wanted. And I want to be able to say, no, don't negate any of the terms which are an exact match because I actually want to target those terms.
Right. Yeah. And have you found a way, like singular versus plural, let's say it does the plural version of that term. Have you found a way around that?
No, it's it is the bane of our existence.
Okay.
Amazon, this also. Amazon considers plural and singular to be the same.
Yes.
For all intents and purposes, they consider it to be the same. The problem is, as we know, they can often perform differently. All kinds of random scenarios where plural will perform differently than singular, and you want to negate or you want to take action on one of the forms, and you can't, because if you negate one, you're negating both. If you promote one, you're promoting both. We can't take action split out.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing you really could do to get the most amount of control would be to put it in its own campaign, and at least then you have other control levers that you can pull, with placement modifiers and things of that nature and bidding. But yes, it's
right.
that is definitely a troubling thing that happens. We saw it yesterday.
Oh, something happened specifically with plural versus singular?
Yeah, and there was nothing we could do about it because you couldn't do the negative, like you said, negative exacting would remove both options, and that was not a possible scenario. So, our suggestion was to make its own breakout campaign, and then you'd have more control that way. So, trying to get around the issue a little bit.
Oh, that's certainly frustrating. I have to remember it. Whenever it comes up, I remember that it's an annoyance. But whenever I speak to the people at Amazon, because I have conversations with different Amazon ad people, whenever they say, "Oh, what's on your wish list?" I never remember that issue. So I definitely have to make a post-it somewhere that the next time it comes up to mention that they need to isolate, plural and singular separately. Then again,
Yeah.
I mean, I have to imagine that for most purposes regarding advertising, it's going to be useful when they are grouped together. It is the rare situation when they are performing differently. So
Yeah. And if
programmatically,
they
it's
do
going to
that
be stable.
update, we'll call it Abe's update. That'd be awesome. Yeah, so this is the bulk engine. So the bulk engine, everything is sorted in the bulk engine by highest ad spend first, so that you're always seeing the campaigns that are the most expensive or the results that are costing the most in terms of ad spend. And the optimization,
Are all of the columns filterable, like by any of these?
yeah, so you can come over here and you can filter by any kind of combination that you want. The filters
Okay.
are savable, you can save them. And also the columns here, you can update these columns.
Okay.
So we have a couple of templates for columns. So we added, one called brand metrics, funnel metrics, video metrics, and budget metrics. So if there's something you wanted to see, let's say that you're just working on video campaigns, you can go over to video metrics, or perhaps you can drag and drop some of these columns and move it around any which way you want, and then save the columns as the template. And once again, these columns will be available, across the different accounts that you sign up with.
Got it. I actually think that I said the question differently than I intended it. The question was, can I sort by each column? So when you first showed us, you explained that it sorts by most spend first, but can I resort by most orders, by most sales, etc.?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So you can do that just by clicking on the actual column itself. So we could see like the most amount of clicks is
Got
right
it.
here. The most amount of orders is right here. Yeah. So
Perfect. All right, very
pretty
good.
flexible
If
with
you
that.
wanna, if you want a small UI suggestion, I would say
Sure.
next to each of those, maybe make little up down arrows so it's clear which way it is being sorted.
I love it.
It's
Yeah,
not
I think
clear. It's not this right now. The way I see it, it just looks like text. It's not clear that it's clickable for the purpose of sorting.
love it. Okay, so I love your suggestions. So thank you. So when we first come in here, it's sorted by spend. You'd want to see this go like top down, and then it's indication you can do it with other columns as well.
Perfect.
Awesome. All
And
right. So
we can rearrange these columns, or they're set the way they're set.
So these are all rearrangeable. You have to come over here and you can go and just flip them around, do it any
Right.
which way that you want. Click on
Very good.
apply and they're rearrangeable.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm always rearranging things depending on what kind of information I'm trying to extract. So depending on that, like I'll want to see like relationships between two different numbers. So I'll move things around. Like for example, I might want to look at clicks to conversion rates. And like I want to say, oh, okay, so this has a 6.94 conversion rate, which is not so good, but it also only has 173 clicks compared to other campaigns that have much more or much less. So seeing them right next to each other visually when I want to do that is going to be useful.
Yeah. And then you can save the customized columns and then have that setting available for you whenever you're looking at that. Some
Awesome.
of the filters, though, inside of the bulk optimization section have columns that are pre-saved specifically for the action we're trying to accomplish. Like if we're trying to find the highest cost per click targets, the columns themselves will be different in that section compared to if we're trying to find the low converting targets.
Right.
So a lot of that has been thought out, but yeah, you can customize any column that you want.
Right. Very good.
All right, so now inside of the bulk engine, there's several ways to view this information. And we highly suggest going through each module. Each one has like a 2-minute long video that I've made. And a lot of these modules were made based on like just frustration that we were having and other sellers were having. So for example, how frustrating is it to have to go into every campaign and every ad group to see which SKUs or ads are underperforming? If you have multiple ads inside of a campaign, maybe there's multiple ad groups. How are you going to find out which ads are underperforming? That's why we built SKU optimization. So you can select all of your campaigns and then select some kind of parameter to see how are those SKUs performing? Which ones are underperforming? Which ones do I need to pause? And how can I direct traffic to the best performing SKUs? And it's kind
I
of
would be curious to know what that looks like in a bulk situation, because that's sort of a thing. That's sort of a campaign level thing. No, do
yeah.
you know what I mean?
What you do basically is select as many campaigns as you want,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll get some results here. But I'm going to select 5 campaigns, and you click on continue, and then you set up first. Next step, select the ad groups, and then you set up some kind of filter. So let's say that we want to find all of the SKUs that are above the target ACOS. And we have predefined target ACOSs for each and every campaign, which can be editable in the command center. This is the most common setting that sellers use, and they're just finding the worst performers. However, you also can use things like, and I used this morning with a customer, low converting SKUs, and then go through the bulk engine and find everything that's below the average conversion rate for the account. And you can find a lot of junk and a lot of SKUs that just are not performing in certain areas. So for this example here, the above target ACOS, we can select that, or you can save a filter and click on continue to results. Now, what this is doing is it's finding in the 5 campaigns, and hopefully we'll get some examples here, all of the SKUs that are underperforming relative to the target ACOS of that campaign. And then it's going to list it by the highest ad spend first. So it's sort of listing and organizing everything by the highest spend first. And then what it's going to do is we have this ability here to see everything in the aggregate across all 5 campaigns, sorted by the highest spender first. And let me go over this example here. In this example, we have the jumbo gray SKU, and it's got a 48% ACOS, which is, it's a 48 ACOS target. Highest amount of spend, and you can see there's the toggle, and then the next one has a 61, 100, and here's the amount of spend here. So these are in different campaigns. So Abe, to your question before, where you said this is something you may want to do on an individual campaign basis, we have this toggle feature here where we can list all of the results organized by highest spend first, or we can organize them by campaign. And of the 5 campaigns we selected, you can see here that 2 SKUs show up in this campaign, 1 SKU in this campaign, and then sort of work from there and see, which SKUs show up, and then you could take the action if you desire to, which in this case would be more like to pause the actual SKU because it's underperforming. Now,
Right.
would I actually do that in this scenario? Absolutely not, because you would more likely want to optimize the bid or maybe do some negatives. But there are scenarios where it's just clear cut, where this is just, hey, this SKU is just drastically underperforming, and maybe it has like multiple clicks and no sales, or it's a variation that's not performing well, a color variation, something of that nature. You could easily see it here and then take action.
So, okay. So just for clarity, when we say pause I know the answer, but just for clarity, when we say pause a SKU, you technically mean pause the ad, right? Like when we
Yes.
go into Seller Central, they call the SKU the ad. So we're going to be pausing that ad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be sort of like a UI question or a UI suggestion. There are 2 scenarios, and maybe this is actually answered already. In one scenario, there is 1 SKU in a campaign, and in some scenarios, there are many SKUs in a campaign. If there are many SKUs in a campaign, we will want to pause the ads on the worst SKUs of the group. So if there is 7 colors in a campaign or 7 colors in a group, we might want to pause the worst of the performers. But if we only have 1, we don't want to pause that because in essence, you're turning off the ad or you're turning off the whole campaign. Is there a way to sort of identify the situations where it's the only SKU in that group? And is
So,
that what the SKU column is for?
so currently there isn't, but we are adding a caution flag that will tell people, hey, this is the only ad in the group. If you pause it, the campaign's going to be turned off. That's a feature that is in our roadmap for enhancements for this. But yeah, it would be a caution flag. And it would just basically say, hey, don't pause this.
Got it.
There's also another way we could do it is just have a filter that says remove single SKU or single ad group campaigns. That's probably another way that we can enter that into the equation.
Right. I mean, if you would ask me, I'd probably want it the first way. I'd want to run my filters to identify all the SKUs in my account which are performing the way that's filtering. But when it comes to taking action, then I want to know more about whether it's one of many or one of one. That's like but yeah. So with regards to this, your roadmap is a good roadmap. We definitely need something to identify when it's the only SKU in a group.
Right.
Okay.
Very
But
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is definitely very good. I can see it. ACOS is basic, but I think once we get into like other pieces of information, it can really be useful. So like as an example, I'd want to see specifically where the click-through rates are bad. So when click-through rates are really bad, that drags down the rest of the campaign. It means people are seeing that ad and then they're not clicking through to it.
Correct. Yeah. That's a
You
really
know,
good point.
that
And
weakens the performance of the campaign. So those are the things, like just as a thought, poor CTR is like a really big issue.
yeah,
And
that's a good point.
if the rest of it is functioning well, and then this one is is wasting impressions, okay, now I know what to do with this one. Let's make the most out of our impressions. But yeah, I can definitely see this being I can definitely see this being a very useful way to view certain ads by different metrics and being able to take action that way. So that's good. All right.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's just one of the filters that we have. Of course, next we have like bid optimization, which essentially is finding the bids on targets and then taking action across all of your keywords at once. So you could you can go in here, and once again, it's the same setup. Essentially, what we're doing now is we're finding all of the keywords inside of these campaigns, and there's all the ad groups, and then we could find all the above target ACOS keywords, and then go ahead and based on the results, we can take action, at scale. So maybe in this example here, we want to find all of the keywords that have clicks and no sales. Maybe we want to find the low CTR keywords or the low conversion rate keywords. Any type of filter that works for you, you can save that filter and then bring it up into the results section. And it takes a second to populate. But what we're going to show you here is, of course, everything sorted by the highest spend first. And these are of the 5 campaigns selected. You can see that these are above the target ACOS. Here we have 56%, 41%, 79%, 165. And these are the keywords themselves. And then, of course, you can organize this by campaign. So this particular campaign is 22 keywords that are above the target ACOS. Here's the target. Here's the actual ACOS across all of those keywords. And then if you open it up here, it's sorted by the highest spend first. So you can go ahead and select some of these and then take action based on some of these different filters that we have and different settings that we have. So there's a bunch to choose from, but we have lowering bid by $1 or by percentage, or changing to average cost per click plus or minus a dollar amount or a percentage amount. Or you can use what's called our Genius bid, which essentially matches the bid to help you hit your target ACOS. So whatever the case may be, whatever you're looking to do, or this section here can help you optimize your bid at scale across all of your campaigns.
How good. I'll ask you to be self-introspective and tell me how good is your Genius bid at what it does. I ask it that way because I've looked at more than one software before today, and I've actually run into situations where even the developers will say, "Don't use that feature; it's not so good." I think your Genius bid is going to be a lot better than that, but I'm curious, like how much can I put myself in its hands? If that makes sense.
It's very basic. It's essentially just modifying the bid, looking at your target ACOS and looking at your actual ACOS, and then lowering the bid to hit your target ACOS over the given time frame. So it's very reliable. We've actually been using it since 2017. Of course, I wouldn't recommend making sweeping changes all at once. That's just something that, incremental changes are always better. So if it's recommending you go from like a crazy, amount just because of performance over that time frame, I wouldn't recommend doing that. But in this example here, we're going from 113 to 123 because our ACOS is 56 and we want to get to a target of 40. So it's very straightforward and very basic.
Got it. It's interesting that it wants you to raise the bid to bring the ACOS down.
Genius bid. Let's see. Raise the bid.
It wants you to go up to bring down the ACOS. There are situations where that's appropriate. If you're not getting visibility, it might say, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but if I had to make if I had to propose a theory, I might say that it says that because you're not getting enough visibility, you're not getting enough impressions, you're not getting enough clicks to actually make orders in the right spots. So it's thinking that if you would be more visible, you will make more sales and bring down your ACOS. That's my thinking.
Yeah, either that or the target ACOS is set to be a little bit higher for this campaign. That could be it as well.
That's also right. So if the target ACOS is 70%, yeah, you actually want to
So yeah,
increase spending.
the genius bid will raise or lower. So depending on whether the target ACOS is higher or lower, it will raise or lower the bid to hit that target ACOS. So in this example, be a little bit higher. I think adding a column where it says the target ACOS would be very helpful now that we're actually saying this and going through this.
Yeah.
This way you know what the target ACOS is and the actual ACOS, and then you can see the difference between the two.
There you go. More UI work. Which leads me to another question. In that filter, there was a preset filter for above target ACOS. Could it be useful to add a filter that says below target ACOS? Because one of the things we do, so when we run ads, when I run ads, when many sellers run ads, you're trying to do two things. You're trying to make your ads less expensive compared to sales. You want to bring down your ACOS and your costs. But the other thing you want to use your ads to do is to increase sales. And one of the ways we increase sales is we find the things that are below our target ACOS and pour more money into those. So that's actively going to be a thing that we want to focus on.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You could have below target ACOS, or you could simply make a filter like between 1 and let's say 25, if you know what your target ACOS is, and then save that filter and then run back to it on a regular basis. So I agree that would be a nice feature just to have the below target ACOS. For now, you can do like between 1 and 25 and then continue, and then go from there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, below target ACOS lets you not have to remember what the target is in each situation. Also, if you have many campaigns with many different targets, then you're going to end up, you can't do that easily. Whereas if it's just the target, doesn't care which campaign has which target, it's always going to be filtering in those cases.
Awesome suggestions. Love it.
All right, good. I hope I don't drive you too crazy with these.
No, it helps. It really helps. I think we did all your suggestions from last time. We already.
Oh, I mean, I wish I could have said this at the beginning of this little video. I was so impressed that when we discussed last time certain things, like hours later, some of them were done. Some of them took more than an hour, but like one of the things where it was like, how many of the images are there? Like how many images are in the listing?
That was an Abe suggestion.
Yeah, we discussed it and it was there right away, and for those of you who haven't watched video 1 yet, one of the things that the command center does is it gives you a quick evaluation of your listing, including how many images are on the listing, if I remember it correctly, and it'll identify how many images you have in a listing in this to catch the situations where you don't have enough images.
Actually, what it shows you is the image of the SKU inside of a campaign. So if you're advertising, let's say 10 SKUs in a campaign, it'll show you all those SKUs and sift through them. But before that, we didn't have the number of ads in a campaign. We wanted to see that, and yeah, that was an easy. Not every change like that is an hour-long change, Abe. Some of them are easier than others. These are pretty straightforward.
Right. No, but that was a good one because in those situations you want that information.
Right. Yeah. So then we have all of these other filters. So now the search term ASIN optimization is going to find the search terms that are underperforming, or you can use it in ways to find that they're performing well, and you can take action from there and do your negative exacting. What I wanted to focus in on is this one called the negative word finder, because this is something that's very interesting and unique to the Entourage tool. So again, it's the same steps. You would select the campaign, select the ad group, click on continue. And now what we're doing here is we're finding the individual words that are not linked to a sale, a profitable sale. So the way that we use it is with the kind of what's going on in the background is we take all the search terms that are between the target point 1 and the target ACOS, and we make list A. And then all the search terms that are above the target ACOS or have 0 sales and make list B. Then we strip them down and break them down into their individual terms. So we have list A and list B. And if it's on list B, but not on list A, which means it's only on the unprofitable list. We will show it here. And only then is when you can go in here and actually say, hey, should this be a negative phrase match? Because not automatically do you go in here and every single one that shows up on this list, do you negate as a negative phrase match? That is never a good thing. You want to just use this as a reference list to say, okay, these weren't linked to a profitable sale. Let me see if it's something I want to do a negative phrase match on. And then we have that for
How
all
could
of,
a keyword be on both lists? Or how could a term be on both lists?
so for example, let's say it's cat mat in this example. Cat mat has a profitable sale, 10% ACOS. But then blue cat litter mat shows up, or cat mat shows up, and it's got 25 clicks and no sales. So now it's on both lists. But the word blue is the only word that's showing up on list B, but not list A. So in that example, we would eliminate cat and mat and only show you the word blue.
Got it. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So this is pulling out individual words that don't work. So they might be on their own a word. So this is not the keyword. This is just an individual word, which is not good.
Yeah, so of the search term, and sometimes there's like five long tail search terms that have 5 or more words. Sometimes multiple words will show up over here from one single search term, which is interesting as well. So you can go in here and you can say, okay, well, I want to maybe remove the word trapping and add negatives to a campaign and do like a negative phrase match in which we tell you this is a high risk optimization, but you can go ahead and use your mind to ask yourself, is this something that's related to what I'm selling? But also
Right.
use
You might find terms like dog here. So if you find all of a sudden the word dog, that is a clear candidate for negative phrase match in a situation where you're selling a cat accessory.
right. And if you're running a lot of broad match campaigns, you're probably going to get some interesting matches that show up over here. I remember one time seeing cigarette in a pet supply product. I was like, what is cigarette? Like maybe they were trying to clean up pet stains and they were looking for a product that cleaned up like cigarette stains. I don't know what the case was, but you'll see some interesting matches that show up over here and it'll be pretty straightforward.
I can give you the scenario, by the way. There are cat urine cleaning products, which are
Right.
also identified as cleaning up the smell of cigarette smoke and all kinds of things. So in an industrial situation, like a hospital or something, or a hotel, they want cleaners that get out like cigarette stains and cat stains and, all the bad words that you don't want to describe gross things, but like all the gross things turn into search terms that are relevant to the product. Not these mats, but cleaning products. Yeah. The cigarettes and cat pee, specifically
Yeah.
cat pee, would end up being in there. So that's just so you know.
Yeah, heavy duty smells. But I mean, we were only selling the cat mats, and that's showed up. And like, how can we find that individual word? And that's how the negative word finder was developed. Cool. So, any questions about this, Abe, before we move on?
Nope, I like it. It's good.
All right. So then in the advanced section, we have many different pre-made filters over here. So, for example, if you want to simply find the highest cost per click targets, which we were just doing on a call with one of my clients before. You could do that and select all the campaigns and find the highest cost per click targets, the zero impression targets, the low converting targets, the targets with spend and no sales. And then this section here is really helpful, especially if like your negatives are just getting out of control. This section here is called review all negatives. So you can select all of the campaigns, click on review all negatives, and then essentially see every negative that's inside of every campaign and ad group across all the campaigns that you've selected. Now, if you're an agency and you're taking on a new account, this would be good to go over this and see like how many negatives is this account actually using. In this example here, we have 135 negatives across the 5 campaigns that we've selected. And of course, this is like by just listed all together, but I can organize that by campaign. You can see here that this campaign has 125 negatives, and the action step here would be to review these negatives and then also to potentially remove the negatives if it's something that maybe you think is not good to have in there.
So with regard, this leads me to a few questions. The first
Sure.
question is, are these all the negatives in a campaign or in an account, or is this negatives that were created in a certain window? The reason I ask that is because if a campaign has been running for like a very long time and it's, a high volume search term, you might have thousands and it's always being added to. I don't need to re-review the negatives that were caught 8 months ago. Or can it do it in terms of when it was added might be useful. Something to identify that in a campaign with many, many negatives, that you don't keep looking at the same thing every time you search.
Yeah, from my understanding that so that information isn't available in terms of when it was added. I think if we could probably add that from our tool, like when it was added from our tool, but not when it was added, if it was added on Amazon or from another tool. I don't think that's information that we'd be able to pull, because if you go on Amazon, you don't see when it was added, correct? I don't think they've added that.
Um,
As far as I know,
sure.
they don't have that on Amazon.
I'm not sure. I know that there is a history, and the history will tell you when things were added. But I don't know if the history comes through in the data you see. I'll let you wrestle with it, but you understand the difficulty I'm describing.
Yeah, knowing when it was added would be really helpful as well.
The challenge is that right now we're looking at a screen with 125 negatives. What happens when you're looking at a screen with 1,250 negatives, and it's constantly growing?
Right. Yeah, I think the use case for this would be the initial looking at the account initially and seeing, okay, how many negatives are they using, like what type of negatives are they using, that sort of thing. But I do agree, like doing it by time and like that's a really good way to manipulate this information.
Yeah, what's
Cool.
new? You also want to see if, and I'm not sure like how to figure this out. Like I haven't spent time with this, but like one of the things I might want to figure out is, why did something suddenly become negative if it looks relevant? If you have a campaign that's old, that's aged, it's got a couple of years of data. Why did this keyword suddenly become a bad performer to be negated, and not any of the time up until now? So you sort of, all of these things sort of are rabbit holes to go down, which help you optimize your content in little bits and gradually.
That's a good point as well.
All right,
Awesome.
I'll let you keep going. By the
Yeah.
way,
So
you have 7 minutes. Not from
yeah,
me. You have your own. You have your own 7 minutes.
yeah, a few more minutes. So
All right.
so the way the tool, I wanted to show you the reporting, but that's probably going to be another time. So now we have everything with expansion. So anything you want to do with like finding new keyword opportunities, search terms, ASINs. We even have a section here called product expansion, where you can find new categories related to the ASINs that you are coming up in your
Wait.
search term.
Can I give you a dumb UI thing or a small UI thing?
Sure, go for it.
Right now we are in the bulk engine, right?
Mhm.
I would say that on the left side, whatever area you're in should be highlighted.
Oh, like over here,
No,
this
keep going
section.
to the keep going to the left. We have the whole bar on the left.
Oh, yeah, like this.
Right. Oh, is
Okay.
it highlighted?
So the icon is highlighted.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't
So
tell. Somehow my screen didn't see the row of icons until you moved to the left. So okay, then disregard it, I guess. I couldn't tell just from the letters. It was the same.
okay. We're actually combining the bulk engine into the command center very soon. So everything will
Oh,
just be in this section.
cool.
So that'll save a little bit more time.
What's the thinking behind combining them?
So the thinking is it saves a step where there'll be a blue button here where it says start bulk engine. We'll still have the bulk engine here, but you can start it from the command center. People were going back and forth, and it was just causing like it. You could see like, oh, now I got to go back to the command center, bulk engine. Like it was too much, too many extra clicks,
Got
basically.
it. Okay, perfect.
All right, so bulk expansion, we have 3 modules here. Target expansion, search term expansion. Now, search term expansion is essentially finding the keyword opportunities. This is going to dig into the search term report and find the search terms that are working and converting well, that are not yet keywords. And that's the key thing here, is we're showing you new opportunities. So we have a filter that says remove keywords. So essentially we're removing the keywords that are already being targeted in the search term report and only showing you new opportunities, in which case you could then go and put them into new campaigns or existing campaigns. So this was actually the module that tool was founded upon. And then we sort of built out the other features on top of it. So I'm pretty sure this is something that most agencies and most sellers do. If not, it's an important thing to do. So I'm not going to go through this because I think it's pretty straightforward.
Perfect.
But I do want to
What is keyword expansion? Was there keyword expansion in there?
So we have target expansion.
Right. What is target expansion?
The filter to what you would do, like consider, like imagine you're doing keyword research and you found like 10 or 20 new targets. You could then enter the targets here. Let's say pizza, use that as an example, pizza. And then select the campaigns and then filter to see if you're targeting that keyword inside of any of those campaigns yet.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
All right. Then we would find either the ASINs or the categories with product expansion. And then what I really want to focus in on is this target search section. Because in target search, we have the ability to do a general target search for keywords that are really important to you. So in this example here, cat litter mat is the prime keyword. So you could put in your prime keyword. And what we're going to do is we're going to search as a broad match across all the campaigns selected. And there's probably shouldn't have chose 471, so it might take a second or two. But we're going to find all of the broad match keywords related to cat litter mat. And then we can fine tune that search down to the exact match to see which campaign is performing the best in. So it's a way to see where your root keyword is performing across all of the different campaigns.
Wow.
And then take. And of course, if you select 471 campaigns, it may take a few extra seconds. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it should be good. Hopefully it's not an internet issue, but I think you should be loading it up in a sec.
Yeah, and if not, we'll go over to the generated reports and I'll see if there's an example here.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you a question about the generated reports right off the bat when you first showed that screen. The question is, what happens after 30 days? Do they disappear? Do they get archived somewhere? Is there a way to like definitely send them to us so they're sitting in our mailbox?
So they do disappear after 30 days. I think it was just too much data to hold for longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can download them. That's a good idea too. In terms of like, telling people, hey, this is going to delete soon. That's a really good idea. But yeah, it'll delete after 30 days. And so this is an example of, I think, the same example of litter mat. I think I did this a couple of days ago. The broad match was cat litter mat or litter mat. And now it's showing me every keyword with the word litter mat in it. And there's 18 total across all these different campaigns. And of course, we could organize this by campaigns. And you can see this campaign has 11 keywords. This campaign has 7 keywords. And then you can open it up.
That part is great.
Yeah, and then you could also like actually look for an exact term. So if I just wanted to find the word litter mat within those campaigns, now we're doing an exact match term, and here's the litter mat, and here's how it's performing. So the way that we recommend doing this is first doing a broad match term search, and seeing where those broad match keywords are located, and then also going into search terms to see where they show up as search terms. So litter mat, here's the exact match that we showed before. Here's litter mat as a search term, kitty litter mat trapper, kitty litter mat. So anything with the word litter mat is going to show up in the search term section over here. There's 23 different search terms. So for the root keyword litter mat, we have 18 keywords and we have 23 search terms. And this is just useful information to see how your root keywords and where they're performing. Are you getting good keyword coverage across the different ad types? Like, do you have duplicate keywords? Maybe it's in multiple of the same campaign and it's just underperforming. There's many ways that you can utilize this information.
Wow. I mean, I would love to like dig into the use cases. One of the things which is a challenge to me is where in my daily workflow does this action fit? Like if I have an account and I'm managing an account, or if I have an account and it's my own business, what is going to be the time when I want to run a search like this? How frequently should I be doing it? What should I be looking for? Things like that. Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah, this isn't something that you would do all the time, but I would say when you're looking for opportunities, keyword coverage to see if you're covering all the different ad types, that would be a good use case for this. Something like once a month or so to see how your keywords are performing, your best keywords across all the different ad types. And I do have to apologize. I do have another call, Abe.
Yep, I know.
But we covered half of it, but I would love to cover more, especially the report section on the next call.
Of course. All right. So I'll wrap this up. I know you do have the next call to go to. We definitely covered a lot today. We're going to call it part 2, basically. We're going to call it part 2 / the bulk engine. And then, we'll dig more into the rest of the features the next time we get a chance to talk together.
All right. Well, thanks again for having me on.
Thanks, Mike. I always appreciate the time.
All right. Bye, Abe. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.